Okay, so schedules. I'm going to describe the opening schedules for the concrete foundation wall. The ID number of this opening, V17, okay, it is right here, V17, and it shows the width, the height, the elevation, and it shows a description, okay? So now, if I go to that and I select that element, and I go to the settings dialog, you can see that it shows the ID, V17. It shows that it's the element classification of a wall, okay? This is actually a window, okay, that we use to make this opening. But I changed the element classification of all of these to a wall because I wanted it to, because it wasn't a window, it's a part of a wall, it's an opening in a wall. So I changed that. And I'll explain why I did that later. You can change the renovation status, which is important to know these things in the future. It's not important at the moment. But you can see I also named it V17, and I wrote a description in here, and this description is basically just copied from the other set of plans. Okay, so you can see that there's a all the information of this opening is in the element itself, and this is where building information modeling comes from. This element contains information that's important to the project. And I placed a label onto this element using the label tool, which is this tool right here. Okay, I use the label tool to place this label onto this element. So if we go to the label tool, I'm going to cancel this here. So if we go to the label tool, this is where you choose the label that you want to use for the element and what you want the element to say. If you look at the general settings here, you can see that the first thing that it includes is the ID, okay? And you could choose the name instead if you want, and that will change to the name of the element that it's connecting to. But we choose the ID. Okay, so now it's going to grab the ID number from the element that it's attached to. Place this label. It's important that the element changes color to a blue like that. See how I changed the I hover over it and it turns blue? If I was to do it here, then I would be labeling the wall. If I'm to do it here, then I'm labeling the window or the opening, and you can see it pops up, it says window. Alright, so when I place the label, I want to place it on the window. So it's important that when you place your label, you place it on the window. Okay? So I'm going to select this label tool. I'm going to wait for the window to change. Now if the window doesn't change, hit the tab button until the window shows up, and then you place the label. And you can see the label grabs V17 because V17 is part of the element. You'll see V17 is the ID number. Okay? And if I click on the settings, V17 is the ID number. If I was to put the same label on this, then the label will say P116 because this element has P016 as the ID number. Okay, so schedules in the project map, schedules are down here. And you can see I made a schedule for the foundation openings, and I dragged it into the foundation top of wall plan sheet. So see foundation openings. Okay. So if I double click on foundation openings, then I will get a tab that has the foundation openings schedule in it. Now I had to make this schedule so that it would have the information I wanted. ID, width, height, elevation, and description. And this description was in the window opening settings, if you remember. So I go to make this, I go to Scheme Settings, okay, and I choose. So to make this, what I did was I selected a window schedule, and then I went to New, and I duplicated this, and I gave it a new name, and I called it, let's say call this Beam Pockets. Okay. And now it created one, and it has the same method. This shows what's in the schedule. So full element ID is this ID, the width is the width, the height, elevation to project 0, elevation, and I changed the name, okay, and then description. And this is the information that is grabbed from the element itself. This information is grabbed from the window settings, from the opening settings. And this shows what's allowed in the schedule. So I chose element type is a door, or element type is a window, because some of our openings are doors and some of our openings are windows. And then I chose that the element classification was wall. Remember when I changed the element classification from window to wall so that the opening would be part of a wall? Okay? So that's why I did this, so that we would be able to select. We don't want the schedule to show all the doors in the model. We don't want the schedule to show all the windows in the model. We want the schedule to show the doors and windows that have the element classification of wall. Okay? And let's say I want to make changes to this schedule here, okay? And I want to, you can move this, so description, see how this description is last? Okay, I can move the description to the beginning, like that, and then the description will show up over here. But I don't want to do that. So, then you save it as that, and it shows up here, and then you can put this into your drawing over there. And again, this description, this is in the element. So if we go to V17, we hit settings. Okay, we go down to tags and categories. We have the ID, and we have a description. This is the same description that's in the schedule. Okay, and then if we go back to the schedule, it's interesting that there's many more things that we could put in the schedule if we wanted to. We could add the acoustic rating, the fire rating, the zone. There's so much information. The thickness, the head height. There's so much information we could put in the schedule if we wanted to. Okay? But I only want this information, so that's why I only have this. Okay? And this is kind of like the find and select tool, which is very important as well. And also, once we make one of these schedules, we can export it and we can use it on our next project. So that's helpful. Okay, let's say we want to make the beam pockets. The beam pockets were made as slabs, so we have to change this to slabs here for element type. And then if we wanted to add like the height and the width and everything like that, we would have to go through here and we'd have to pick out all the different things. So the elevation of the top was one we might want. The thickness is one we might want. But when you go through here, you'll find that it doesn't show the length or width for a slab, because slabs can be so many different lengths and widths. That's not part of this. So what that means is that if we want to make a beam pocket schedule, we can't model the beam pockets as slabs. We have to model the beam pockets as something that includes height and width and length in here, so that we can get the width and height and length of the beam pocket in the schedule. So we can't use slabs. We'd have to model our beam pockets as something else, like maybe as a wall. So if we modeled our beam pockets as walls, then we would be able to go into the walls, and we would see that we can do the height, and we can do you can do height and thickness. Which would be, the thickness would be the same as the depth of the beam pocket, and then we would have length of the wall at the center. And so we could have the length of the wall would be the same as the width, and then we'd have the height, and then we'd have the elevation, which is in here as well somewhere, and then we could have a description or whatever as well. But so the point being that we could make a beam pocket schedule, but it won't include the width, height. If we use slabs, we have to do the beam pockets as walls, or as maybe as beams, or as doors or windows or something like that. But it won't work with slabs because there's no length and width to a slab. There's length and width to doors, there's lengths and widths to windows, there's lengths and widths to beams, there's lengths and widths to walls, but not for slabs. So next time we do beam pockets, we should do the beam pockets as probably as walls, and if that works, then great. If not, we could do the beam pockets as windows or doors, and then we'd be able to make a schedule for beam pockets. Alright, signing off.